Part 27. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 262. Prison guards passed by in groups. The blackout just now was too weird. They needed to check if anyone had taken the opportunity to escape during this time. Although there was a layer of electricity outside the prison, it was scary that some people would take advantage of the blackout. After sneaking out, the monitors that were just now suddenly went dark for a moment. If something went wrong, a group of people would be in trouble. The most important thing is to see if this incident was an accident or if someone did it deliberately. Although after the backup power supply turned on the lights, it was found that this incident was just an accident. A mouse ran into the main gate. It just caused this commotion, but it still scared the guards in the prison into cold sweats. Quiet. This is just an accident and will not affect your brightness. Faced with the curses of the female prisoners in the prison guards took out loudspeakers and kept repeating this sentence. The warden took this matter very seriously and personally led the patrol. When passing Lily's room, the warden glanced at Carol, who was sitting on the upper bunk holding a painting book and frowning without moving, as if she had seen something. Like a terrifying monster, after seeing Lily, he hurriedly led people to the next prison to check, without even intending to come in to collect evidence, leaving Lily speechless. "You are so smart." Carol, who had been silent all this time, suddenly spoke gloomily. She obviously didn't speak often, so although her voice was delicate when she spoke, it was a bit stuttering. "When did you notice it?" She was a little embarrassed. As if uneasy, she reached out and brushed her long hair, and tucked one side of the hair that had fallen on her face back behind her ear. "Send it to you." She suddenly opened the book in her arms and tore it open. After reading a page, he handed it to Lily. Lily couldn't help but be a little surprised now. To be honest, the two of them lived in the same dormitory for several months. Carol never spoke to herself. "This person is as quiet as a ghost. Sometimes even if we are in the same small room, she will not make any sound. Even the sound of walking is sometimes inaudible. She never snores or talks at night." Although Lily thought she was a little gloomy at first, she was actually easy to get along with, of course, if she hadn't inexplicably wanted to attack him today. She would still think Carol was easy to get along with. I wonder if she was bitten by a snake once, and after 10 years of laying the well rope, Carol handed over something. She knew that it was impossible to possess dangerous things in prison, especially someone like Carol, but she was still afraid of Carol. Is there some trap hidden inside? After all, Carol used to show that she cared very much about her precious notebook, and no one else could even read it, but now she tore it out. "Here you go." When Carol didn't come to pick her up, Carol pursed her lips, looking as stubborn as a child. Lily hesitated. Although she still had a grudge in her heart about her previous attempt to kill him, she hesitated. She still reached out her hand and took the piece of paper handed over by Carol. Her movements made Carol reveal a subtle smile, which the girl might not have even noticed. It was like an epiphyllum in full bloom. Because she smiled so often, she actually gave people a sense of surprise. Lily opened the paper. It could be seen that it had just been rubbed, so the paper was not flat and slightly yellowed. The smell of blood still remained on it. Some places were so red and black that the half-dried blood looked eerie. And the most important thing is that there is actually a lifelike figure of a woman who was electrocuted on the sink painted in blood. Lily raised her brows in surprise. There were a few things in the prison above that could be vaguely seen, including 2 beds and a figure sitting on the bed. Although the details were painted with blood, the reason was not special. It was clear, but this already surprised Lily. Thinking that the prison guards outside had just shouted that this incident was just an accident, Lily sneered twice, and she admired Carol's methods even more. She raised the paper in her hand and spoke to Carol with no hint of happiness or anger. "You want to kill me just because you want the scene in your painting to appear?" Carol pursed her lips and smiled again, with 2 blushes appearing on her pale cheeks. She nodded as if she was a little shy. "It's a pity that you're not dead." There was a bit of regret in her words, but she quickly calmed down. "It didn't work this time, are you going to continue?" Lily asked, but Carol shook her head without hesitation. "How could I use the same technique a second time? Unless I can design a more perfect work of art. This girl is smart and has a talent for painting. The key is that she has her own specific symbols for killing people." Although Lily is a little wary of her, she can't help but marvel at her ability when she sees the painting. If she falls into the trap, who had just been electrocuted to death on the sink, I am afraid that the fallen figure will be exactly the same as the painting. This shows that this girl is very strong in mathematics and physics, so she can calculate the changes in angles to the extreme. "You should also know my height and weight, right?" Lily asked with a half smile, folded up the painting that still smelled of blood, and stuffed it into the pocket of the gray prison uniform on her chest. Carol, seeing her move, he smiled and nodded, and his long curly hair swayed slightly with her movements. "Height 1.63 centimeters, weight 43 kilograms, a little on the thin side, but you are strong, I can feel it." He was originally thin due to physical strain from years of hard work. Although Lily had adjusted her body well after coming here, she still looked thin on the outside. In addition, the energy she absorbed every day was turned into internal energy. It was swimming in the body, so there was no flesh on the body. When she heard Carol's words, she smiled and waved to Carol, "Come here." Carol climbed down from the bed obediently, looking like an obedient little girl next door, and glanced at Lily curiously. But Lily took out the paper she had just put into her pocket and tore it into pieces. The corners of Carol's originally smiling mouth suddenly pursed tightly, and an uncontrollable black energy spread in her eyes. However, Lily ignored her, tore the papers into 8 pieces, and arranged them according to the Bagua directions. Placed around the small room with a solemn expression, and motioned for Carol to stand in the middle. "Your scent is still here, but I see that your position has changed." Carol frowned at first, but soon a look of interest appeared on her face, and she began to turn around in the circle. "Really interesting. This is the first time Lily has used this simple blind method based on the directions of the 5 elements and 8 trigrams. In order for these formations to be effective, in addition to having a certain foundation in martial arts, it is not guaranteed to be successful every time. Things also depend on luck, and you have to be particularly focused to succeed, just like drawing a talisman. If your strength is not to the point where you can create formations with chess pieces, you can only rely on luck." She had never used such a method before, and she was a little nervous at first when she used the blindfold method. But now, seeing Carol's curious look, Lily smiled and fell into bed and went to sleep. Carol, who had never talked much in the past, seemed to have been reciting some formula in her mouth that night. Lily listened to it at first, but then she closed her 5 senses and sank into practice, ignoring her again. This kid was just trying to kill someone, so skipping the beating stage was really bad. Lily was going to teach her a lesson and lock her up for a while. Lily was shocked when she woke up the next morning. Carol was still where she was, but her body was covered in blood. Her expression was so pale that it was almost transparent, her delicate brows were furrowed and her lips were biting tightly. Kept saying, "How is it possible? According to the formula, it should be in this direction, but I still can't see it." She was not angry, and took up her hand again and started to calculate the formula on herself. The originally delicate index finger of her right hand was now the skin of the entire finger was chewed off by her, and the remaining fingers were also somewhat similar. Lily frowned. She originally wanted to teach Carol a lesson, but she didn't expect that this person turned out to be such a fierce master. Being cruel to others, she is also cruel to herself. She kicked away a piece of paper on the ground. The simple cover-up was suddenly broken. Carol's face, whose eyes were full of bloodshot eyes, showed confusion. Soon the focus of his gaze fell on Lily, and his eyes narrowed. What's going on? She wanted to stand up, but seemed to have lost too much blood. After shaking twice, she sat down on the ground again, but she didn't care at all and pointed out the formula she had just written. Show it to Lily. I have calculated all directions, but why can't I see you? And you just kicked the paper away and I can see it? Is it because my algorithm is wrong? She said. She seemed confused and didn't care that her lips were bitten and bleeding. If you put the paper back again, I will count it again. There was a hint of irritation in her expression. For 8 hours a night, she was covered in blood and was not irritated. However, because of Lily's simple action of breaking the formation, she was a little agitated. Angry. Lily ignored her, and the bell rang outside. It would soon be breakfast time. After Lily had achieved her purpose of teaching Carol a lesson, she was not ready to get entangled with her anymore. There is such a person living in the same dormitory. Even if she is not afraid of Carol, having such a person around is always a trouble. Therefore, she plans to find someone to apply for a room change today. At least there will be a person with strong limbs and a brain in the room. But a simple guy would be much easier to deal with than a highly intelligent criminal like Carol. Do it again. She was about to leave, but Carol followed her at some point. The scarred hands, as if they had been dug up all night, grabbed her hands. The girl still said stubbornly, "You can't leave, let me do it again, I will do it." To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 263. Lily was stunned for a moment by Carol's stubborn expression and her red bloodshot eyes. This obsessive-compulsive behavior made Lily suddenly think of a familiar figure, although the appearance was different from the one in front of her. But it still made her originally indifferent expression change. She grabbed Carol with her backhand, stared at her blue eyes seriously and said, "I can tell you that this cannot be explained by physical formulas. If you rely on physical formulas, you may not be able to solve it in your lifetime. It is easy to get out of such a circle, because your eyes can sometimes deceive you yourself, but if you want me to tell you how this came about, you must ensure that things like last night will not happen again, and that we will live in harmony with each other in the future." Carol didn't necessarily understand everything that was said in English with a bit of Eastern explanation. However, Lily's words meant that she would no longer be able to kill her at will in the future, but Carol understood it. If it was before yesterday, she will definitely not agree to such a thing, because she always acts as she pleases, and will kill anyone who doesn't like her. If she can't die once, it will only make her more upset, and she will want to make the person she kills more beautiful next time. Even when she sent Lily the blueprint yesterday, she was still thinking about how to kill Lily. But now she had changed her mind, because the simple trick Lily devised made her feel interested, and her eyes would deceive herself. This was the first time Carol heard this, and it was contrary to what she had learned in the past. But she was very curious about the matter at this time, so she hesitated and motioned to Lily to try again one last time. This time she closed her eyes. Fortunately, the array of 5 elements and Bagua is arranged really well. This time he actually had some spiritual power. It can block people, and the scenery they can see is just foggy. Lily tried it and felt that if flowers, plants, and trees were used as decorations, the effect might be doubled. If a forest was used to form the formation, then she was sure that she could create a come where no one else can find you. Thinking of this, Lily's heart couldn't help but move. If something happened to Ji-Bei, he would be in jail for 10 years. Although after practicing martial arts, the appearance of this body is not only not old but also a bit younger, and looks like a mature woman in her 20s, but if she goes out after another 7 or 8 years, no matter how young she looks, but it is troublesome to ruin 10 years of her life in it. Lily is not afraid of those people making trouble now, but she doesn't want to deal with it if there are too many troubles. She remembered that Carol easily plunged a prison into darkness last night. If she can take this opportunity escape, and from now on, the sky is high and the sea is wide, allowing birds to fly. With his own abilities, it is unlikely that the police will be able to recapture him. It's just that this idea comes up. Lily forcibly suppressed it again. At this moment, she was not completely strong enough, and she was not proficient in all the electronic scanning equipment. Even if she took 10,000 steps back and said that she really wanted to become a fugitive, she would have to. It takes some careful planning. Carol didn't know what Lily was thinking. She just stood again among the piles of waste paper she had just seen laid out with her own eyes. The paper was torn from her sketchbook, and there was nothing weird about it. But after tearing it into several pieces, it strangely blindfolded the person's eyes. This time, there should be hallucinations in her eyes, like a mirage, because she saw things that could not appear in prison. She was in this room. After living in the dormitory for 2 years, she clearly remembers the furnishings of everything, and even the places where spiders appear. She has a very good memory, and can almost say that she never forgets anything. As long as she has seen something, she can remember it no matter how small it is. She could recall it, so now Carol knew that she was in a hallucination. A few scraps of paper could produce such an effect. She was a little excited. According to Lily's words, she closed her eyes. This time, there was no deception from her eyes. She could indeed smell Lily's scent. From where she was, she could vaguely hear Lily's heartbeat, which was very slow. If an ordinary person beats about 60 or 70 times a minute, she might be around 40 or 50 times a minute. Carol cautiously touched in that direction. Ordinary people may lose their sense of direction after closing their eyes, but Carol still walked very steadily. She walked carefully to Lily, reached out and grabbed her, and when she opened her eyes, she realized that she had already appearing outside the strange circle just now. Looking back, it was just a few pieces of waste paper lying there. It's amazing. Carol shook her head, with a smile of pure satisfaction on her face. Like a child who discovered an interesting toy, she couldn't help but walk towards the formation again. After repeated trials 3 or 5 times, she became more and more confident. It is certain that the so-called formation in Lily's mouth should be set up by taking advantage of the blind spots in the corners of people's eyes. It is cleverly combined to become a simple thing that can lock people in it. But although she understood the truth, Carol couldn't figure out the formula. After she refused to admit defeat and wanted to try again, Lily stretched out her hand and stopped her. You don't have to worry about it anymore. This is just a little trick. No matter how you calculate it, if I put it in another way, the effect might not just be to trap people. The interesting thing about the formation method is here. If you move a small corner, what may change is the entire world you see in front of you. She had learned this thing from Xiao Zhao before, but had never used it in several worlds. Now she tried it and it worked wonders, but because she may not have strong mental power, all she was trapped in was people's eyes. Illusion, when the day comes when she can lay out formations to not only trap people, but also to make people believe it deeply in their hearts, then she will truly have used the art of Kimandungia to its extreme. Can it change again? Carol's blue eyes suddenly lit up, and her pale face couldn't help but show a bit of blush. She looked like she wanted Lily to show it out again on the spot for her to try. But Lily is not ready to satisfy her right now. She wants to whet Carol's appetite and make her tightly tied to her one day, so that she will no longer try to hurt herself, and it is possible that one day she can take advantage of her naturally smart brain. It's true that it can be changed again, but I have to have breakfast. I'll put it out later. Lily picked up the waste paper on the ground and threw it into the toilet nearby. Carol watched thoughtfully as the paper was taken away. The surrounding scenery slowly returned to normal, and he bit his lips tightly. She moved her fingers, and there was a sinister look in her eyes, but just now she had promised Lily not to hurt her again, so Carol showed a bit of struggle on her face. Although she wanted to kill Lily now, and then dug out the facts she wanted to know from her mind, but then she thought of what she had promised. After hearing the bell ringing, when a prison guard came to open the door, Carol, who used to be sinister and indifferent to people, took the initiative to follow behind the Lily. Such a scene made the prison guards open their mouths. In this state prison, it is not comparable to the prison where Lily lived before. It is so large that it can even be ranked in the entire United Nations. The people inside there are all kinds of prisoners, divided into several areas, and Carol is the most dangerous one. When she was first imprisoned, she was suspected of killing 10 people in a row. The original CSI suspected that she had some mental problems, maybe she was born with a disease. An antisocial element, but even though the police focused on her in the 8th case, she still succeeded in killing the 9th or even 10th person under the police's nose, without leaving any trace. A trace of clues, but nothing in the end. Except for the paintings she had painted at the scene, the way everyone died, the scene at the scene, and the position of even a drop of blood were exactly the same as her paintings. There was no trace of Kahlo's crime, even if everyone knew that the painting was she drew it, but there is no evidence. The reason why Carol was imprisoned was that she had finally killed a police officer, which revealed clues. After being sent to court by the prosecutor, the jury found her guilty of murdering the police officer, and the reason why she was not imprisoned was she entered the most heinous prison area because the people she killed before were just people who suspected her and there was no real evidence. When Carol was sent to the prison, the previous warden in the prison was panicked for a while. The warden was about to retire, but after Carol was imprisoned, 2 female prisoners in the same dormitory with her died mysteriously one after another, and the Criminal Investigation Bureau came to investigate. In the end, even though everyone knew that Carol had done something, the evidence really excluded her, and people came to an unexpected conclusion. The warden was in bad luck after an accident, and was then corrected by the then deputy warden. He specially replaced Carol with a notorious female prisoner, but it was of no use. The prisoner had a good reputation in prison and the woman who formed a gang and became the leader still died tragically in the end. The same result happened again. Everyone knew that it was Carol who did this, but she couldn't get hold of her. After the warden was changed, Carol's reputation in the prison became louder. No one dared to looking at her. The current warden had been on tenterhooks for a long time after he took office. In just 2 years, several people died one after another in the prison. Moreover, in the 2 years before Lily came, the warden alone had been replaced twice. Naturally, he was also afraid that the seat under his buttocks would not be stable, so Carol had been living in a single room. No one dared to share the dormitory with her. Of course, no one dared to send someone to live with her, for fear that everyone would eat him if something happened. Can't afford the crime. Lily appeared at that time because she was an Oriental, and she was an Oriental who had caused trouble in the original prison. The prison where she was sent had a secret relationship with the current warden and wanted her to die in prison silently. So she was assigned to Carol. To be continued. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 264. I thought that none of the strong female prisoners could survive 2 months. Unexpectedly, this thin-looking Easterner had a long life. She lived with Carol for several months. Not only did she not die, but now it seems that Carol and her the friendship between them turned out to be quite deep, which shows that not only is he powerful, but his ability to coax people is also extraordinary. This shocked the prison guards, and at the same time, they inevitably showed a bit of fear towards Lily. No one dared to compete with Lily for breakfast. Although in the past, no one dared to compete with Lily because Lily and Carol lived together, but it was different today. Today, everyone looked at Lily with horror in their eyes. Carol was a person. It's so mysterious that even just hearing her name can make people scared. But this beautiful girl who never interacts with others or talks to others, today for the first time, she had dinner with Lily at the same table. Which made everyone look at Lily frequently. Using the principle of light, it is sometimes possible to find blind spots in the line of sight, allowing people to hide in a spot, making them invisible. It is similar to Japanese ninjutsu. Carol usually doesn't talk much. At least in the several months that Lily had been in the same dormitory with her, I had never heard her say a word. But at this time, she was talking about physics knowledge to herself. The meal was originally quite rich. Lily gradually felt that she couldn't taste the breakfast carefully. After being imprisoned, the food in the prison was naturally not delicious, but today, probably thanks to Carol, in addition to the usual vegetables, the morning meal also included thick soup, fried eggs and milk, which was rare to eat. Lily was naturally happy about such a breakfast, but Carol looked extremely troubled, making her sigh. He put down the knife and fork in his hand. While picking up the milk glass and taking a sip, he said slowly and rationally, "There are similarities, but there's one thing you don't know." Carol's eyes lit up when she heard her finally speaking. She put her hands on her thighs obediently, with a look that signaled her to speak quickly. Lily couldn't help but smile and said softly, "I can tell you. But you have to promise, you can't force me to answer when I don't want to." Hearing this request, Carol showed a look of embarrassment on her face, but seeing Lily looking like she was going to leave with the plate if she didn't agree, she hurriedly stood up and stretched out her bloody hands. He pressed the back of Lily's hand and said stiffly, "Gee, I agree." Lily nodded. It was not surprising at all how she knew her name, as the prison guards would also call her by name on weekdays. It's just that Carol never greeted her on weekdays, but this person has a very good memory. It can be seen from the painting she gave her yesterday. If she didn't have a pen, she might be able to draw a prison. Her eyes are like cameras, able to record everything she has seen. Her memory is so good that she naturally knows Lily's name. It's just that at this moment, Carol only calls her by her last name, which is obviously to express her closeness. She may not be close to her in her heart, but this title represents her attitude. In addition to using waste paper to lay out such a formation, I can also use vegetation, stones, broken tables, and chairs. Different things create different formations with different effects. As long as I change one of the small positions, in addition to hiding your eyes, I can also launch small attacks. If my ability is deeper, I can also hide your heart. Even if you close your eyes, you will never escape. Lily saw when Carol heard these words, her eyes showed an inexplicable light, her lips were slightly opened, as if she was very surprised, and the corners of her mouth curved, and all of this is definitely not comparable to Japanese ninjutsu. After all, it is a thaumaturgy that has been passed down for many years in the martial arts world, and it cannot be compared with the Japanese ninjutsu in real society. Carol took a long breath and glanced at Lily with some longing. The art of the East is really magical. If we can get along well, I can also let you know. When Lily said this, she always felt like Grandma Wolf coaxing Little Red Riding Hood. She originally thought that a smart genius like Carol might be. It took a lot of words to convince her, but when she heard this, she nodded without hesitation. "Of course, gee, we can be friends, although I have never had friends before." After she finished speaking, she smiled. She shrugged her shoulders. To others, it sounded like such desolate words to even a friend, but to her, it was like a matter of course. Lily smiled, seeing that she really kept her promise, and asked no more questions, and then she started to eat herself again. The food comes on the plate. The benefits of having Carol, a humanoid boss, as a friend are obvious. When Lily finished one plate and looked up, a prison guard had already come up and filled her with another plate. She would never have received such treatment before. If it looked like this, Even in prison, staying for 10 years is not that unbearable. With Carol, a person who is very curious about formations, Lily has put some thought into the formations, and the effect is obvious. From the beginning, she may succeed 5 times in 10 formations, but after half a year, she succeeded almost 10 times. They can all do it successfully, and occasionally they can even create an offensive formation that is twice as powerful. Of course, the material must be better than waste paper. Unfortunately, there are no plants. If she can get some indoor potted plants, maybe the effect of the array she puts out will be more powerful. If she knows more about Feng Shui, they can complement each other. The effect is even more effective. Unfortunately, when Lily thought that she would get a lot of conveniences by having Carol as her friend, she asked the prison guard for a few water plants one time, and when she was about to try out the plant arrangement to see if there were any different effects, the prison guard used a method of looking at mental illness. He looked at her for a long time. "You want water plants? My poor little thing, don't you know that in Carol's hands, even if she only has a handful of air, she can kill someone?" Carol's image in everyone's minds has been set before. Even if she has never been caught killing many people, everyone knows that she was the one who killed her. The reason is that every time she dies, there will be, the police once suspected that these paintings were painted by Kahlo, but no definite evidence was obtained. Although it was a guess, the person who shared the same dormitory with her died inexplicably. What started as an accident may have led to a series of accidents. Even a fool will understand that there is definitely something wrong with it. Lily didn't expect to ask the prison guards for something. She originally thought that they would agree given their fearful attitude towards her and Carol at this time. Who expected to receive such an answer? She couldn't help but feel dumbfounded. Seeing the guards' frightened expressions, naturally, I knew that the waterweed thing would never be possible again. Gee, what's the use of getting water plants? Carol glanced at Lily curiously. Although she was smart and had outstanding achievements in science, she couldn't help but look at the formation that Lily had set up for her recently. She couldn't figure out the connection for several months, and she also thought about learning, but Lily just taught her, and the two of them put out the same things, but she had no effect at all, and as time went by, Carol also, instead of being discouraged, he became even more persistent in this formation that he didn't understand. If there are plant-based things, we can put up a better formation. Unfortunately, we can't get anything here. It's too inconvenient. I stayed in prison for a long time, and now although I don't have anything, people dare to bully her again, but after all, she is not free. Ji Bei's wish is to live her life completely. If she can get out of trouble early, Ji Bei will be willing in her heart. What's more, although Lily doesn't feel that her current life she was not used to the method. She had practiced martial arts in hiding for many years before, but the feeling of wanting to practice in seclusion was completely different from being forced to be locked up. So after much deliberation, she decided to escape from this place. Cage, but it's best if Carol helps her. After all, although Lily has Qigong and internal strength now, she is not arrogant. There are electricity everywhere in the prison. If she is not careful, she will still be immortal when her martial arts is not perfect. Some high-tech things, we can't go head-to-head yet, so we can only rely on Carol's help. From the fact that she silently set a trap to kill herself, although she was unsuccessful in the end, it was clear that she was capable. As long as she was willing to help, she didn't have to do too much, even if it meant that the prison's power supply would be cut off for 2 more days. Minutes, that short time was enough for her to escape. You want to go out? Isn't it nice here? There is food, drink, and a place to stay. Carol turned her head and glanced at Lily, with a look of doubt in her eyes as blue as the sky. Occasionally, there is fun. Play. Who bullied you? It doesn't matter, they are just like that. Leave it to me, and I guarantee that you won't have to see them again before tomorrow. No, Carol, I don't want to go to jail anymore. I want to go out and live my own life, have my own job, have my own home and house, and have my own life." Lily didn't expect that everyone would avoid it. An inferior prison turned out to be a very good place for Carol. She frowned and saw the murderous intent flashing through Carol's eyes, so she interrupted her. "I can't stay in prison forever, here. The air is not free, and I don't even have the right to look at the stars at night. Everything is decided by others. Even if I want something, I have to beg others. I don't like this feeling." "Is that so?" Carol murmured softly. The first time she spoke to Lily, her accent was a little weird. Recently, it has become smoother. It should be because she didn't communicate with others much before. Now she was crooked. After thinking about it for a while, he showed a sweet smile to Lily. "Gee, I think you are right. Look, you can't even get the pen to draw." Lily pointed to the treasured sketchbook she used to hold in her arms, and continued, "After you finish drawing, you have no place to store your extra notebooks. Carol, don't you think it's a pity to live like this?" To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 265. "I didn't think so at first, but gee, if you want to go out, it's okay." A shy smile appeared in Carol's eyes. She lowered her head and flipped her hair as if in a panic. She bit her finger and then she began to draw in her sketchbook. There was a trace of a flaw left there. After a while, she seemed to be sure of something, and threw away the sketchbook. "Gee, I can promise you to let us leave here, but you also have to promise me that no matter what happens in this life, you have to be with me. Together, we can't be separated as friends." After Carol finished speaking, she wrinkled her delicate eyebrows in distress. "It's been very interesting to spend these days with you. Although the two of us are a little troublesome, $6 million is enough to buy a bigger house. When you want to be quiet, I can also have my own room." Lily looked dumbfounded at what she was saying about $6 million, and couldn't help but laugh softly. Carol is not a rich person. She doesn't even have a family. She is alone. No one comes to see her when she receives guests on the 15th of every month. If she were rich, she would have been released on bail by a lawyer. Bail is not cheap even abroad. But if she had $6 million, she would definitely be able to afford it. Lily didn't believe that Carol had $6 million, but she didn't say it. It wasn't until more than half a month later that a plague unexpectedly broke out in the prison. It started from the dormitory next door where Carol and Lily lived. Gradually expanded, and by the time the prison guards realized something was wrong, more than 10 female prisoners had died in just 2 days. If such a number were exposed, the prison director would probably be finished for the rest of his life, and he might become the prisoner's commander. Suddenly he became a prisoner. Someone from CSI came to investigate. It's a pity that the investigation took more than half a month. However, no strange situation was discovered at all. The plague continued to break out, and the matter finally broke out among the people. All day long, reporters were trying desperately to get over the line to interview. The warden's head was as big as a bucket, and the superiors put pressure on the people in the criminal investigation department. The results were obtained after a quick autopsy. Although this group of people were infected with bacteria due to the dead mice, it was more important. This is because they themselves were rarely infected by a seemingly harmless germ that was actually lurking in the body. Once the plague and this germ were infected with each other, they formed a life-threatening toxin that could kill people within 24 hours. It could easily take the life of an elephant. After the incident happened, the traces of crime inside were very obvious, and many people began to doubt Carol for being able to do such a ferocious thing. However, there was no evidence, even if one was finally found in Carol's room and the dormitory next door. Rats that have been left to rot for a long time after death. This made everyone doubt Carol even more, but no one knew where the evidence was. The people were very angry about this incident. After all, many of the people in this prison may be family members of the people, and demonstrations and other activities are held one after another. If this continues, a small incident may cause greater turmoil above, and the warden will get the pressure was deeper than before, but bad news still came one after another, because the number of deaths in the prison continued to increase, from a dozen people dying at the beginning to dozens of people later. The emergence of this new type of virus has left a group of professors helpless. It will take a lot of time to reformulate the antidote. The people are also afraid that this plague is contagious. Therefore, in panic, even the governors of the entire continent have been blamed, and the government has also started paying attention to this. At this time, Carol began to appeal. The reason was that when the police station sentenced her to prison for killing a police officer, she was wrongly accused. If it were in the past, politicians would rather kill a dangerous person like her than let them go. After all, by locking her alone, it is possible to save many people who will die at her hands and avoid bad things happening under her rule. Murdering case. And at such a critical moment, when everyone is in a panic, the incident of Carol killing the police officer was already quite violent, and for some reason, the news that she claimed that she was wrongly accused got out. At this time, the public's attitude towards the police credibility was in doubt, and politicians had to have the case reopened. Even though Carol was caught at the scene that day, the murderous knife used as evidence was originally sealed in the evidence room. When it was revealed again, a clear purple fingerprint appeared on it. This gave the police more headaches, and what frightened them the most was that the fingerprint was not Carol's. Maybe for some reason, they failed to collect the fingerprint until more than 2 years later. It should be due to some special chemical changes. The fingerprint changed color and resurfaced. With the appearance of this strange fingerprint, Carol's fingerprints were not found on the knife. The only thing that could arrest her and put her in jail was a policeman's so-called witnessing. Now that the evidence has been overturned, some people think that it is the policeman deliberately told nonsense in order to avenge his colleagues. This incident once again made the government notorious, and its reputation suddenly fell to the bottom. The court found an ordinary citizen guilty, which was undoubtedly a devastating blow to the reputation of a group of politicians. In order to silence the public and let the matter settle as soon as possible, even though many people knew that Carol was guilty, the gang people who usually stood aloof finally lowered their arrogant heads and came to the prison. Carol Reeves, someone is looking for you. After someone spread the rumor that the recent death was due to Carol, no prison guard dared to come to this dormitory anymore. Now, when calling people, they always call from a distance through the door. Lily glanced at Carol subconsciously, but saw her smiling, gently arranging her long curly hair, and stood up. Gee, we may not be far away from the day of freedom. She followed the prison guards out. Everyone avoided her like a snake or a scorpion. No one in the prison even dared to scold her loudly. This time the people came from the ruling party. They offered to release Kahlo because they had imprisoned her for 3 years in vain. Because of this, I am willing to pay her $6 million as compensation, just hoping that she can let this matter settle. Carol agreed, her only request being that Lily be released as well. An ordinary Oriental woman is not a big shot, not to mention that the person she killed was insignificant. Now a few years have passed, as long as she behaves well and is released on bail, so these people are also very important. I happily agreed. When Lily waited until Carol came back, she still couldn't believe that things were done so easily. In her opinion, escaping from this iron-walled prison should have taken a lot of effort, but she didn't expect that once Carol took action, they no longer had to sneak around and had to be sent out in person. There was no need for her to think of any method, no need to hide, and no need to worry about being discovered by the police when she went out later. Before Lily could react, the warden had already come over and drove them in person to send them out. I was rude to the 2 ladies before. Please forgive me. The warden, who was still young, now has a few silver hairs appearing on his temples, which are very conspicuous among his brown hair. He has a look of enthusiasm and joy on his face, as if he is preparing to send 2 plague gods away. As if leaving, with obvious joy on his face. I hope I don't have to see you here again in the future. Of course I have no ill intentions towards Ms. Reeves, haha, this prison death incident may end his political career, but if Carol is left behind, it is possible that not only his career may be ruined, but also his life. Although most of the prisoners in this prison were serious criminals, it was definitely his fault that so many people died in just 1 month. Fortunately, Carol was gone. The warden thought of this and tentatively said, "Madam, based on your wisdom, do you think that after the 2 of you leave this time, there will be no one in the prison who will return to the embrace of the Lord?" The car had stopped outside, and the warden personally opened the door for Lily and the 2 of them. There was even a cart of flowers inside, and the fragrance came from it, making Lily involuntarily take a big breath of fresh air. Perhaps I won't die again. Who knows what will happen in the future? Are you right, sir? Carol smiled softly, like a shy and introverted girl, without any ferocious murderous intention in her body. But her words made the warden obey the imperial edict, and a smile of surprise appeared on his face. He even took out 2 gift boxes from the front seat and handed them to Lily and the others. Then, I hope to lend my lady some kind words. This is a small gesture. As a return gift to the 2 ladies, please be sure to accept it. Carol didn't reach out, so Lily had no choice but to reach over and take the thing. After thanking her, the car slowly started moving. In addition to each containing an International Union pay card, the box also contained a set of exquisite and beautiful dresses. The 2 of them left in a hurry and did not even change out of their prison clothes. This was because they had never had family members come over before. During the visit, the warden actually noticed the reason why he was wearing no home clothes except prison clothes, which alleviated the embarrassment of the 2 of them. After getting out of prison, Lily guessed from the information she got from Carol one after another that she had planned to get out of prison in an honest way early in the morning, and used the trap she had inadvertently set up many years ago to get out of her own life safely. He then threw the prison into chaos and filed an appeal before the government came to its senses. In this way, he not only received compensation, but also got what he wanted. As for the female prisoners who died, they should have been plotted by her, but Lily felt dangerous because she was often with Carol, but never found out when she had done such things. Carol's danger, one can imagine. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 266. With a government compensation of $6 million in hand, Lily quickly followed Carol's wishes and found a very spacious villa far away from the crowds outside the city, with nearly 600 square meters of private space in the front and rear. After buying the garden for less than $800,000, and spending several months decorating it, the 2 finally had their own home. More than a year passed by, and the gardens in front and back were also surrounded by iron fences at Carol's suggestion. She didn't like to be too close to the crowd. They were filled with roses, which were planted almost all year round. They are all in bloom, even in the cold winter, they will bring beauty to the monotonous scenery. Lily arrays are arranged in the front and backyard, and Carol often hides in them and refuses to come out. With all this time to practice formations, Lily's formations created by using flowers, plants, and trees now have many more effects. Carol doesn't understand the principle, but she is fascinated by it. Living a leisurely life without having to worry about money is really comfortable, like taking care of a retired person. If GU hadn't come to her door 2 years later, Lily would have almost forgotten such a person. It had only been a few years since we last met. Now, the young and beautiful GU, who was only in her early 20s, looked like a woman in her 30s. Her originally plump cheeks had lost weight, and there was heavy snow falling outside. Despite the weather, she was wearing a dirty down jacket. After ringing the doorbell, she quickly saw the much younger Lily. Ji-yu almost didn't recognize the person in front of her. After a long while, she tentatively said, "Mom, Mom, Mom." When Lily saw this person again, she couldn't help but rolled her eyes, and was about to reach out and close the door. "You have recognized the wrong person. Mom. You are my mother. Why don't you recognize me?" Ji-yu's face turned livid from the cold. She didn't know where the strength came from at this moment. She squeezed in all of a sudden, holding the iron door tightly with both hands and refusing to let go. She glanced at the manor. "Mom, do you know this? I had such a hard time, I didn't go to college, I didn't go to college." After she shouted this, Lily didn't react. "I couldn't help but said loudly, just because you refuse to accompany me for an hour every week, the instructor gave me a D comment. It's all your fault. Mom, you should help me." In fact, Lily was surprised that Ji-yu failed to go to college. After all, how ambitious Ji-yu was, it can be seen from the original owner's notes and the plot, but such a person did not go to college. But hearing that she was blaming herself now, Lily couldn't help but sneered. "Ji-yu, don't forget. I was still in prison back then, and it was your business whether to come every week. Secondly, don't forget. You haven't shown up after a few weeks. Do you want me to break out of prison to see you?" Ji-yu's face froze at first, and then she said firmly, "That's also because I don't have the fare to see you. There is a free shuttle bus that takes people to prison every week. If you want to blame me for your failure to go to college, then you have to find a good reason." Ji-bae was imprisoned in the plot. She has lived for almost a lifetime. Logically speaking, she should not know these things, but because she hopes that her daughter will come to see her often, but is afraid that her daughter will not have enough money to come by car, she deliberately inquires about this information. Obviously, Ji-yu also know this, because after Lily said this, Ji-yu couldn't help being speechless. "You can go back." Lily tugged on her clothes and pulled her down. Even though Ji-yu was holding onto the iron railing with her hands, her strength was no match for Lily's. He was pulled off and thrown outside. Open the door, I'm hungry, Mom, I'm your daughter, why are you doing this to me?" Ji-yu first tried desperately to grab the lock, but the lock was Carol's. She didn't know how to fiddle with it, and then she needed to use character scanning. She couldn't open the unlocked one. In the end, she could only cry and beg. Seeing that Lily was unmoved, Ji-yu couldn't help but darken her face. "You should be in jail for 10 years, but you are here now. Have you escaped from prison? If you don't let me in, aren't you afraid that I will report you? The one you want to report should be yourself." Lily couldn't help laughing when she heard Ji-yu's words. "Don't forget, it was you who killed the person, not me." "Nonsense. You have no evidence." Ji-yu stretched out her hand and pounded the iron door, and started crying. Why do you do this to me? Didn't you love me very much before? Mom, why have you changed? I am your daughter." She was crying like this, which made her look a little softer than the fierceness just now. Lily was about to walk away, but suddenly there was a dull pain in her heart, as if she couldn't bear it, and reached out to open the door. Then he stopped it, resentment welling up inexplicably in his heart, and an urge to open the door and slap Ji-yu came into his heart. This feeling of being out of his control was too bad. Lily frowned and covered her face. "I held my chest for a while before I came to my senses. Just when I was about to speak, I instinctively felt that something was wrong. When I turned my head to look, I saw Carol standing there with an inexplicable expression, her head lowered, her hair covered with long hair. Her hair hung down and covered her small face like a palm, leaving only her shockingly pale skin and tapered chin visible. She was holding a remote control in her hand, and after just pressing it lightly, a buzzing sound of electricity came out. Ji-yu, who had originally stretched out her hand to grab the iron door, shivered all over, and her hair was almost shaken by the electricity. He quickly stood up and finally fell to the ground softly. When the iron gate was originally installed, in order to avoid some unnecessary trouble, Carol installed the electrification equipment, just because she was afraid that some homeless people would become suspicious when they saw that there were two single wealthy women living here. Unexpectedly, the second once it was used on Gu. "Get out, there's no mother here." Carol raised her head, her jaw tightened, and she slowly walked this way, with a sinister look in her eyes. "If you come here again, I will kill you," she said. At this time such words were definitely not a joke, because Lily had already seen some murderous intent in her eyes. Thinking of this girl's freewheeling character, it would definitely not be a threat to scare others if she said she was going to kill someone. It was very possible. Really do that. The main thing in my life now is to distance myself from Gu and no longer have anything to do with her, but I can't kill her, otherwise Ji Bei's mother's nature is not known to be awakened. If so, she will return to the space. There is a possibility that the task will not be completed later. Let's go, we have already broken off. If you come back to pester me, I can also publish a newspaper to break away from the mother-daughter relationship with you." Lily coldly rushed to Gu, who was lying on the ground, and said, after Gu had just been electrocuted, her hands and feet were still not very flexible, and now she trembled and climbed up to sit up, but she didn't dare to reach out to grab the iron door again. After all, the feeling of being shocked was not pleasant. She just gave Lily a complicated look and roared. Said, "You will regret it, you will regret it." After saying this, she ran away without looking back. Lily ignored her and closed the custom-made anti-theft door. When she saw Carol lowering her head and saying nothing, she was about to ask her a few questions. Carol raised her head with a confused look on her face. "Gee, is there anything in this world that cannot be separated?" After she said this, she pursed her lips. "Ions can be separated, numbers can be separated, formulas can be separated, and even fragile human bodies can be separated. Could it be that nothing is inseparable?" After getting along with Carol for a long time, Lily actually knows that besides having different thoughts in her heart, she is actually a very simple person. She doesn't even have any sense of right and wrong in her heart. To her, killing someone is just because of the possibility. Put her in a bad mood, or become an inconspicuous pawn in her heart, such as completing the scene in one of her paintings. For example, she wanted to kill herself just because she was contaminated by Gu's faint fragrance. She is not feeling well. Carol does not feel the constraints of social morality, but she is very smart. Such a person is actually very dangerous, because, to use what some modern psychiatrists like to say, she has been mentally deficient in a certain aspect. People don't lack love, because she doesn't understand what love is, and she doesn't even love herself. This can be seen from when Carol used her fingers as paintbrushes and blood as paint. She doesn't take other people's lives seriously because, first of all, she doesn't take herself seriously in her heart. In her world, if the world is described as a round vessel, then everyone living in the vessel there is only one atom. If one atom disappears, several more will split off. It is precisely because Carol's mind is very simple in this aspect that Lily does not feel strange at all when she asks such a question now. The two of them have been together so far, except for the formation they set up that interests her. In a certain aspect, Carol actually regarded her as something that could be close to her, such as hair or eyes. "Carol, some things can be separated, but they are not the original ones after separation. Just like this flower, you see, it is a complete individual. If you separate it," Lily said, picking it casually in her hand. The petals of a falling rose were torn off in two pieces, and he spread his palms to let the wind blow away the petals. "It is no longer a flower, it has become a petal. After the numbers are separated, they become the remaining numbers, no longer the original number, but after the formula is separated, it represents other meanings. The human body is very fragile, but when the body is healthy, it is a complete life, capable of laughing and making trouble, but if the body is separated, it becomes a pile of carrion. Lily explained patiently, and a look of understanding appeared on Carol's face. She was a very smart girl, and she quickly figured out the meaning of Lily's words. She curled her lips and said, "Gee, you want me to stop killing people, right?" To be continued. P.S. 2 updates today. Carol's story ends today. Dear friends, if you have any extra pink tickets, please give them to me. It's already the end of the month, and this is no longer a battle to defend the little fans, but a battle to defend the bully. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 267. Lily took such a big turn just to tell Carol this. In fact, she doesn't really want to kill anyone now. She has a manor to live in, food to eat, and take out for everything. There is a formation that Lily has set up for her at home. It can be studied. If some blind person doesn't break in now, she will not kill anyone, except for the girl she just saw. She doesn't like anyone to be too close to her friend. This is her only friend. No one can be closer to her than herself. It's fine if the girl knows each other, otherwise she will still make the girl unable to dance or dance. Laugh again. Carol smiled slightly, with a look of happiness on her face. She had no friends when she was a child, and her parents didn't like her because of her weirdness. But fortunately, her feelings for her parents were not too deep, and they had not been in contact with each other for many years. But now that she has a friend, this feeling is not bad, and Lily will still do what she likes. If this is what others call mother-daughter love, it would be great if she could replace GU. But Carol didn't wait for this opportunity in the end, because half a month later, Lily received a notice from the police that GU was accused of murder. After rejecting Carol's offer to follow, Lily had a hunch that if she took a trip, it might be key to the mission. In the police station, GU was shaking like a fallen leaf in the autumn wind. It had been more than half a month since we last seen her. She was yellow and thin, and she was wearing an orange prison uniform. She was lying on the table. After questioning her, the police officer was already collecting documents signed by her. Mom, I didn't kill anyone. I heard footsteps. GU raised her head to look. The bags under her eyes are particularly obvious. She looked swollen and scary, with red eyes and deep shadows under her eyes. It looked like she hadn't slept for many days. When she saw Lily, she couldn't help crying, "It's that bastard, he lied to me, he lied to me. Mom, please help me. I want to talk to my mother, can you give way?" After GU said this, he asked the police officer again. The police officer nodded and asked people to take GU out and put her back in the temporary jail again. At the residence where she was being detained, GU said through an iron door, Mom, please help me." She was crying, wondering how she had been deceived by others this time, so that she was charged with murder. He said it again, "William did it. He did it and put the blame on me. I had already passed out at the time. I didn't know anything at all. How do you want me to help you?" Lily tilted her head to look at GU's face, feeling both sighing and happy for the original owner. It turned out that without her mother's humble motherly love that GU looked down upon, GU, who relies on her own efforts, can do nothing more than that. In the plot, if Ji-Bei hadn't tried his best to help her, she would have been in jail a few years ago. "Can you tell the police that you killed the person?" GU asked hopefully. She reached out and grabbed the iron fence, with a trace of greed in her eyes, thinking of the building she saw when she found Lily last time. In the big manor, he felt a little greedy in his heart. "Mom, please help me. If you help me again, I will respect you and I will definitely treat you well." Although Beihe's attitude towards her has become much colder in the past 2 years, Ji-yu does not believe that this is her biological mother. When she knew that she was going to jail, she would not help her. It was Ji Beihe who killed the person she killed. He agreed without hesitation to go to jail for her. Now that he might be sentenced to decades, Lily would definitely agree to her. Although Lily drove her away before, it must be because he did not coax her properly when she was in jail. Thinking of this, Ji-yu couldn't help but said, "Mom, promise me that I will honor you in the future. I will visit you from time to time. I will visit you. I am still young. Mom, you are so old anyway. You're not married, you only have a daughter, and you've been in jail, so you'll be fine." These words were like a bucket of cold water poured on Lily's head, chilling her to the core. An instinctive feeling of sadness welled up in the original owner's heart. Even the heating in the police station was clearly on at the moment, and Lily's body shivered instinctively. These belong to the original consciousness of the original owner, because in the plot, Ji-yu said this when she wanted to coax Ji Beihe to go to jail for her. Unexpectedly, things that were supposed to be discovered several years later and what Ji-yu had said were now spoken from her mouth several years in advance. Whether Ji-yu will be filial to her in the future, no one knows better than the original owner. If she really believes Ji-yu's lies, then there is no need for Lily to come over and relieve her life for her this time. "Mom, I beg you, I am willing to write a note and take good care of you in the future. You will always be my dearest mother. Mom, please help me once. I don't want to die. I really don't want to die. I don't want to go to jail. You're still young, Mom." Ji-yu cried miserably. She tried to impress Lily's heart with such words. She also thought that as long as Lily went to jail, the beautiful manor would belong to her from now on, and she just didn't need it. So what if she goes to college? The money is enough for her to live a life without worries about food and clothing. As for how long Lily will be in jail, as long as she agrees now, what does it have to do with her in the future? Lily couldn't control her body at this moment. She remained silent and didn't speak. Ji-yu's eyes showed a bit of anxiety. "Mom, don't you agree?" There was a bit of despair in her words. Sniffed, "I am your only daughter. If you don't help me, who can you help? I was born in your 10th month of pregnancy. Didn't my mother like to say this the most before? I remember it all in my heart. Yes, I remember that you left home at the age of 19 and gave birth to me at the age of 20. She said what Ji Beihe always liked to say to her, but when Lily heard this, she laughed. "Actually, I gave birth to you when I was 17, and you haven't heard it at all, but you can talk about it now if you want. I just want to talk to you, and now my wish has finally come true, but unfortunately I don't want to hear it anymore." Lily's voice seemed to be getting older in an instant, and after a few sad laughs, her whole eyes the light inside dimmed, and when Lily regained control of the body, she found that the joy and sadness that had always seemed to affect her emotions had completely disappeared. She also heard what the body just said, but it was not what she said. It should be what the original owner said. Thinking of that very poignant and somewhat humble and flattering sentence. All she wanted was for her daughter to listen carefully to what she said. Her request was met, but it was a pity that it was under such conditions and when her biological daughter wanted to coax her to die. This was really a huge irony. The original owner's emotions should have disappeared. Whether the mission of this trip was completed or not should be the key at that moment. Lily's own premonition was completed, and the purpose of her trip was achieved. Not planning to tell Ji-yu anymore, Lily turned to leave. Ji-yu hurriedly shouted, "Don't you agree? If you don't agree, give me 1 million to bail me out, Mom." She stretched out a hand, as if she wanted to grab Lily, but pointed Ji-yu could only touch a small piece of clothes. Seeing Lily's figure walking further and further away, Ji-yu's heart seemed to be empty, as if a very important thing had been lost, but this thought was immediately suppressed by her. Because she thought of Lily's rejection. This means that her so-called plan to put Lily in jail and obtain her property has failed. Likewise, she cannot own that huge amount of property, nor can she have freedom. Ji-yu had too many things in her heart, so naturally she didn't care to think about the meaning of the emptiness in her heart before. In the snowflakes all over the sky, Lily drove home. In front of the cold lawn, a slender figure had been standing in the snow for a long time, with both feet seeming to be buried in the snow. When she heard the sound of the car, Carol ran forward. After 2 steps, she almost fell down, but she quickly stood firm, brushed her hair shyly, and smiled sweetly at Lily. "Gee, you are back." "She has come back." Lily nodded. Having a simple partner like Carol was much happier than having an unfilial daughter. Ji Bei regarded her daughter as the only one, more important than her own eyes, and finally raised a selfish girl. The self-interested daughter even lost her life. Fortunately, in the plot, she is old and useless, and she is disliked by Ji-yu. Otherwise, with Ji-yu's character, one day she will get into trouble again. People who don't get a lesson will always think that there will be someone behind the scenes. Someone supported her to take the blame. Ji Bei died too early in the plot, otherwise she should have seen the day when Ji-yu got into trouble again. It was a pity that no one could go to jail for her by then. A spoiled child ruined his life. It is said that children are born as debts to their parents, but if they fail to raise them well, then even a lifetime of repaying the debt will not be enough. Just after Christmas, Carol was watching TV to learn about Christmas dinner, and Lily was also helping her. When the two of them were busy in the happy kitchen, the news host on the TV was broadcasting, "Ji-yu, a Chinese American, the jury unanimously found her guilty and was imprisoned for 30 years. What is noteworthy is that her mother was also imprisoned for killing someone, and Carol." Host Ji-yu. When it came to Carol, Lily and Carol looked at each other in the kitchen and couldn't help laughing. As fate would have it, Ji-yu was still sentenced to 30 years in prison. This time she would taste what it was like for Ji Bei to be in prison. She would know that her mother in the plot, who she had despised, had to eat for her. What kind of hardships? Half a year later, Lily and Carol returned to the prison where Ji-yu was staying. When they saw these two evil stars appearing, the warden almost broke out in a cold sweat. Coincidentally, the room where Ji-yu lived was the same room where Lily and Carol lived. The room where Carol once lived, but the people in the prison did not treat her as politely as they treated Carol and Lily before. She was badly repaired. She just came out of the hospital 2 days ago and she is now very thin. After losing her form, Ji-yu began to scream for help when she saw Lily. After seeing that Lily ignored her, Ji-yu cursed sharply and cursed a lot, which was like going crazy. Save me, I don't want to go to jail, you sit for me." Ji-yu was tortured and almost going crazy, but Lily just glanced at her, and soon followed Carol in the prison. With a half-pleasing look, he turned and left. Seeing Ji-yu receive such a lesson and suffer such hardship, it can be regarded as tit for tat. If she behaves well, she may be able to apply for early release from prison. If she still has such a moral character, she should stay in it. Staying for 30 years can be regarded as compensation for the hardships and humiliation Ji Bei suffered in the plot. To be continued. Canon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 268. The starry sky was deserted, as if without one person, even the unchanged space seemed a bit colder. Lily's information appeared in the starry sky. Gender, female, variable. Name, Lily. Age, 21. Intelligence, 70, out of 100. Appearance, 71, out of 100. Physical strength, 64, 100 full points. Force, 36, out of 100 points. Spirit, 37, out of 100 points. Reputation, 23, out of 100 points. Skills, 9 Yang Manual, 9 Yin Manual, Heaven and Earth Gate Tao Te I Ching, Southern Gu Technique. Specialties, Intermediate Cooking Skills, Advanced Acting Skills, 5 Elements, and Bagua, Slight Dabbling. Charisma, 40, out of 100. Collection, Corpse King's Love, Saint's Blessing, Angel's Heart, Dragon King's Promise, Fox's Charm, Mother's Love Like a Mountain. In this mission, almost every attribute value has increased. Except for the spirit, which is particularly large because she automatically adds a little bit that Li Yangzi gave her every time. Almost every other attribute value has increased a little. Lily could vaguely feel that this should be related to Ji Lily. When Ji Yu asked her to go to jail instead, she seemed to suddenly appear and ask Ji Yu something, and finally disappeared inexplicably, which made Lily feel that Ji Bei should be like what Li Yangzi said, the kind of person who is willing to use her soul as a reward. Thank you for completing the task for her. Lily sighed, but before she could recover, the voice on the tablet rang, mission transfer. Hearing this, Lily smiled bitterly, and her thoughts were quickly immersed in darkness. When I woke up again, everything was quiet. The beige curtains drooped. Gives the room a soft glow. The air conditioner was on in the room, and she was covered with a thin quilt. Obviously, the original owner must have been sleeping soundly. This atmosphere was indeed very suitable for sleeping in. Lily also squinted her eyes and didn't want to get up, enjoying the rare peace and taking in the here comes the plot. After about 2 hours, she had absorbed the entire plot. I don't know if it's because her mental power is gradually increasing now, so she can absorb the plot faster. And after receiving the plot, although her head hurts, it is not as painful as before. There is no life or death hatred in this story, it is just a fight between two girls caused by a game. Lillian was born into a wealthy family. Her father, Njulong, was a gangster in Hong Kong in his early years. He relied on his own abilities to quickly gain territory and gradually became a small leader. He grew up to be the leader of a gang, and then gradually cleaned up his business. He became one of the 3 richest men in Hong Kong. He had countless women in his life, but he only had a pair of children born to him by his wife, N Yip. His son Nkinlin is 5 years older than Nbei. He is already 27 this year. Somehow, Nkinlin is not the most favored son in the N family. The one that Njulong likes the most is Nbei, the apple of his eye. Precisely because of Njulong's favor, Nbei was born in such a wealthy family, so she has an arrogant and willful personality. If she had stayed in Hong Kong and Njulong was watching her, no one would dare to give her anything even if she was more willful. He was annoyed, but after Nkinlin was sent by Njulong to focus on the mainland market more than half a year ago, Nbei also clamored to follow. Here Nkinlin quickly met a bunch of friends, the most outstanding of whom was a man named Gu Liken. This man came to the Ans group by accident. After he quickly showed his talent in business, he was regarded as a brother by Nkinlin. When Nbei saw Gu Liken, she also fell in love with him. Gu Li Chenyong is different from Nkinlin, who has the temperament of a handsome young man. He is tall and strong. I heard Nkinlin said that he has good fighting ability. He has been martial arts since he was a child. He has a wild allure in him. The first time Lily saw him, she quickly launched an attack on him. But the little princess of the N family had never chased anyone before. This was the first time she chased someone, but Gu Liken was lukewarm towards her, which aroused her fighting spirit even more. Unfortunately, in the end, Shengulichan not only fell in love with her, but fell in love with her. After learning that Gu Liken and Nkinlin were playing a game, Nbei quickly joined the game in order to pursue Gu Liken. Within half a month, with her the speed at which she continued to spend money quickly made her a well-known master player in the entire region. When Nbei originally thought that if she couldn't catch up with Gu Liken in real life, she could slowly develop a relationship with him in the game, she was eventually attacked. Gu Laikan refused without hesitation. Sad and humiliated, Enbei was already indulgent and willful. When she found out that he had a brother whom he had grown up with since childhood, she became angry and got together with him. Although Sheng Laikan's younger brother Sheng Liwan was not that kind of person. He has masculine beauty, but he looks like an extremely delicate and beautiful boy, sunny and cheerful, and he is also a very rare handsome man. When I thought I could arouse Sheng Laikan's anger by doing this, I didn't expect that I ended up stirring up a hornet's nest. It turned out that Gu Liwan had a neighbor girl who he had grown up with since childhood. She was also very beautiful and well behaved, but she never played games. When Gu Liwan was playing games, he met Enbei, and the two met in person soon. Together, the girl quickly entered the game unwillingly, wanting to take revenge on Enbei, the mistress who stole her boyfriend, and Gu Liwan, the lover who abandoned her. She vowed to take revenge on Enbei, the mistress who stole her boyfriend, and Gu Liwan, the lover who abandoned her. Gu Liwan caught up with him and dumped him hard. The gentle, introverted, and well-behaved girl made a lot of jokes after entering the game because she didn't understand the game at first, but by mistake, she also met Gu Laikan and others. Because she found Enbei's number first, and through provocation, Qinlin found out about her. From the beginning, she wanted to vent her anger on her sister, but then she was involuntarily attracted to this girl. Originally, she was just interested in her, but in the end he fell in love with her deeply and couldn't wait to meet her, but he didn't expect that Gu Laikan, whom he regarded as a good brother, also loved her deeply. It was just because she and her brother Gu Liwan were together that they had always been together. He didn't dare to express his feelings, but he cared about her secretly. And the girl started to go against Enbei. How could Enbei, the arrogant and willful young lady, tolerate such anger? She started spending a lot of money to win over this girl in the game. From the beginning, everyone because of later, Qinlin deducted her bank card for the girl he loved, so that she could not do such things again. Everyone fell in love with the gentle girl, and in the end, it was not only her who the boyfriend who came here, Gu Liwan, was disgusted with her, and even her eldest brother didn't like her. When the game company held an offline face-to-face meeting more than half a year later, the girl who was usually scolded by Enbei in the game showed her true face. Everyone was surprised by her beauty, Enbei became a girl that everyone liked. Ridiculous jokes. It was not until after the merger that the girl accidentally saved another trumpet, and this trumpet came from another super master of the server who was supposed to merge. This master also fell in love with her deeply. When she and Gu Li got married after all misunderstandings had been eliminated, a super god came to snatch the bride. The fight between two talented men over an ordinary girl made her reputation go to a higher level. With her comfort, everyone became a friend who is willing to be her subordinate, willing to do all the tasks for her, and finally worship her as a great god. And Enbei became synonymous with viciousness because she framed and hunted down this kind and beautiful girl. She was scolded everywhere she went. What's even more frightening is that the great god who likes girls turns out to be a very well-established person. He is dissatisfied. What Enbei did, he personally warned Enbei's father, Njulong, and ordered him to discipline Enbei well, and promoted her to a first-level trumpet in the game, claiming that he would kill her every time he saw her in the game. For the sake of business, Njulong brought Enbei back to Hong Kong, and because the girl married Gu Laikan instead of marrying Qinlin, Qinlin blamed Enbei for causing him to lose his beloved girl. After the matter settled, Enbei returned to Hong Kong in despair. Her father's favor was naturally gone. She was hastily married to someone else by Njulong and lived an unhappy life. Everything started from Gu Laikan. Lily hated the girl named Mingzisu. Lily's mission this time was to defeat Mingzisu in an honest way in the game. She could no longer fall into the plot. Same ending. The most important thing is that she wants to seduce the man who caused her to be brought back to Hong Kong by Njulong to fall in love with Ming Zissou, and then let him help her deal with Ming Zissou, then dump him and vent her anger. After Lily received the plot, she looked embarrassed and the corners of her mouth twitched involuntarily. After getting used to a lot of missions full of bloody resentment and vendettas, such a small and refreshing plot suddenly appeared, which made her feel a little unaccustomed to the heavy plot. But then Lily adjusted her mentality and laughed, hee hee. There is no vendetta or bloodshed in this mission, there is just a lot of stories in the game. And Behi seems to be extremely willful to Nkinlin and others, but to her, he is almost like a child. Although her temper is indeed not very good, she also has her merits. Although she seems to be mindless and taken advantage of by Ming Zissou just from what she does every time, it can be seen that her thoughts are actually simple. She didn't do anything to Ming Zissou outside the game. Even if she is asked to do the task now, she just wants to vent her anger in the game. Such a straightforward and simple girl makes Lily and G from the previous task compared with you, she didn't know how much she liked him. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 269. In the quiet space, a ding mission prompt came from the computer. In her memory, and Lily should have downloaded the large-scale game that was just released today, Dragon Fighting the World. She heard that her brother was in a relationship with her. Her favorite brother Gu Lycan was playing this game. And Behi thought that she couldn't catch up with the cold man Gu Lycan in reality, so she would chase him in the game. Who would have expected that once she got into the game, her life's destiny would change? I'm afraid Behi never dreamed that she would go from being the aloof little princess of the N family to the indulgent and willful eldest lady that everyone despises. Lily got up and sat in front of the computer. Because the N family was rich and doted on her daughter, Lillian had no idea of working in her own company after graduation. Instead, she stayed at home except for shopping every day. Lillian had just gotten up from her nap, and no one was bothering her at this time. Lily had just installed the game, and at the same time called the maid to bring some afternoon tea and desserts, and relaxed comfortably. The body sank into the chair. The life of the rich is so pleasant. When she saw the maid quietly putting the delicious and fragrant afternoon tea in the trolley, Lily couldn't help but close her eyes again and sighed gratefully. Once again I think that my mission this time is actually no different from that of a vacation. And Behi's computer has excellent performance and top-of-the-line configurations, so in less than 10 minutes, before she finished eating her cake, the other end already prompted a message that the game was installed. After clicking into the game, clear music rang throughout the room, which was the room where Lily was originally installed. Expensive imported surround sound was once installed in the room. It now sounded like the sounds were coming from all over the room. The sound quality was so perfect that Lily couldn't help but grin. After she was so happy, she didn't even notice the area she had logged into, so she happily took on Lily Ann's original game name, Variety Fairy, and entered the game. Lily doesn't actually like the name Variety Fairy, but Lily Ann's original personality is like a girl, so she likes this name very much, since she wants to fulfill her wish. Of course, it is best to use her name. Of course, this is also because the original owner did not call her Fairy Lily, otherwise Lily would not care whether the original owner would be satisfied with such an idea. Judging from the memories in the original plot, she originally hesitated between these two names for a long time. Finally, because she heard Nkinlin accidentally said that men like mature and enchanting women, she gave up the one she originally thought of. The name Lily Fairy was changed to the ever-changing Fairy. Amidst the soft music, the reading data quickly ran out. Lily thought of the elf mage played by the original owner, and hesitated for a moment. I still chose the human priest. Dragon War is a newly developed game by the largest game developer at this time, just the guide on that game page. It is enough to make people fall in love with it easily at first sight. Among them, Longzhontianxia is divided into 5 ethnic groups, including elf, blood, human, god, and monster. The professions are divided into mage, archers, assassins, priests, warriors, and summoners. Except for the Protoss, which stipulates that only warriors can be chosen as a profession, summoners are a profession exclusively for demons. Except for summoners, who are already fixed as demons, other professions can choose races at will. In these pictures, the elves look the most beautiful, slender and graceful, tall and plump, with beautiful proportions. The human race seems to be more common, and the most popular one is probably the Protoss, but that profession is only warrior, and if you choose this profession, you must spend a lot of real money to accumulate it, otherwise you will not see it effective. At first, Enbei only knew to choose a beautiful appearance, but did not read the game introduction at all, so she chose the elf priest. Little did she know that for this race, the talent of high agility and performance destined this profession to be the only choice. Archer. Since Lily was ready to play the game, she naturally wanted to consider her future strength. She chose the human race, but after hesitating between the mage and the priest, she still respected the original owner's wishes and chose the priest. After she made her selection, she entered the game directly without adjusting her facial appearance, hair color, eyes, etc. The server has been open for several days, but there are still many people in Novice Village at this moment. Roosters and sheep can be heard from everywhere in the room. Lily is dizzy due to the noise, and the sounds of many people setting up stalls and shouting can be seen everywhere. She received her first novice task from the village chief, who entrusted her to hunt 10 rabbit skins and gave them to the village tailor Zhang Ant Zhang to make coats to give to her wife who has been with her for many years. Lily accepted the task and ran out, but the sky was green and wild, the wind and grass were low, and the cows and sheep could be seen. She could see both the cows and the sheep, but she couldn't see any rabbits. She originally wanted to ask someone for a clear explanation, but unexpectedly, the 2 trumpets standing next to her were having a conversation. Normal Dongfang Momo, brother, can you take me to hunt a sheep? The village chief wants to eat mutton, but he can't get it. The human male warrior standing in front of the female number agreed without hesitation. Lily twitched the corner of her mouth, thinking that she couldn't pronounce the word brother, so she honestly went out and looked for it on her own. Fortunately, her level was low at first, and so were the monster levels. These were low-level monsters that would not actively attack people. Lily walked through the sheep-herding grassland, and as long as she didn't touch the sheep on her own initiative, those seemingly honest and well-behaved sheep seemed not to notice. After walking a few steps, Lily found a small white thing in the grass. Lily was delighted and commanded her character to reach out and cut the grass. Sure enough, a rabbit squatted down there, staring fiercely with red eyes. Looking at her, spittle came out of his mouth, and the computer screen in front of Lily suddenly changed from color to black and white. System, you are attacked by King Rabbit. System, you were killed by King Rabbit. Normal, the proud one of heaven. I don't know when a male soldier lying next to him stood up. After looking at Lily's body for a while, he vomited a bunch of bubbles and silently slashed the rabbit to death with 2 or 3 cuts. Lily saw a bundle of rabbits falling out. Rabbit skins, as well as some bits and pieces, made his eyes red. Normal variety fairy, this is my rabbit. Normal heaven's proud one, it's mine now. After he finished speaking, he stood next to Lily's strangely moving body on the ground and stood there for a while before turning around and leaving. After looking for the rabbit for a long time, someone snatched it away the first time he found it. Lily angrily found the resurrection button and returned to the main city. Fortunately, the system had protection before level 10. After death, she would not lose her clothes for a long time. Yes, but it will also lose experience and money in the bag. Fortunately, Lily is currently a 3-no person. She has no money and no experience, so she got up dead, remembered the address just now, and ran over in a hurry. This time she didn't find the rabbit, so she had to fight the sheep. After struggling for a long time with the priest's only attack skill, she finally reached the second level. During this period, Lily didn't encounter a rabbit. It wasn't until she killed sheep and cows and reached the fourth level that she saw a white rabbit again. Unlike before, Lily led the rabbit to run and hit him. After nearly 2 minutes of grinding, the rabbit fell to the ground, and a bunch of rabbit fur stingily fell out, making Lily's mouth twitch involuntarily. Twice. She stayed at this place and waited for the rabbit to be refreshed. 5 minutes later, it was refreshed again, but this time she was lucky. The rabbit fell out of a piece of rabbit skin. After guarding like this for nearly an hour, 10 pieces of rabbit skin came out. She was just about to get the last piece together. When she saw the rabbit spawning again, Lily was so excited that she didn't have time to fight. She saw that her experience gauge was only one small space away. As long as she killed this rabbit, she would definitely be able to do it. After reaching the 5th level, before she could take action, a sound of hooves was heard not far away, and the screen in the game began to shake. System, the great Protoss warrior, the proud son of heaven, has awakened the wild boar king. Fight, warriors. Lily had a bad premonition in her heart. Before she could hide, a wild boar that looked like a hill was running towards her. It was shaking so much that she could not stand still and was knocked down. He was disobedient on the ground. This is the unique intimidation of the boss. Regardless of whether it is a big or small boss, as long as it exceeds a certain level of the player, it can make the player feel coerced. All attribute values will be reduced. At the same time, there will be 5 seconds of uncontrollable time. Lily has not yet with enough time to wait. The wild boar stepped directly on the human priest, and the screen turned black and white again. What made Lily want to scold her even more was that she had been busy all afternoon, but her experience dropped to level 3, and the key was her. The 9 rabbit skins that I had just beaten all fell out at once. System, you were killed by the wild boar king. The proud man, whose equipment was obviously more powerful than what he had seen before, swung a long sword and hit the wild boar king until he was scurrying all over the ground. After a while, he screamed and fell to the ground, and the screen shook. After a while, a lot of things exploded on the ground. The proud man of heaven picked up the things on the ground without hesitation. When he saw the 9 rabbit skins dropped by Lily, he glanced at the dead bodies on the ground and picked them up into the bag without hesitation. Although she knew that even if he didn't pick up the rabbit skin, he would be wiped out by the system, Lily still couldn't help but feel depressed. She hated this proud man of heaven. It was obvious that he was in conflict with her. She thought of playing in the afternoon. Tupi, who had been waiting for a long time, hesitated for a moment, lay on the ground, imitated the little girl's voice from before, gritted his teeth and typed. Normal variety fairy, my proud brother, that rabbit skin is mine, can you give it back to me? Normal the proud one of heaven, no. Normal variety fairy. Normal the proud son of heaven, and I don't have a sister. Normal variety fairy, to be continued. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 270. As if Lily was not embarrassed enough, the proud man added another sentence. Lily rolled her eyes bitterly and decisively clicked on the game character to resurrect. When she originally wanted to go back to the place where she had just guarded the rabbits to hunt rabbits again, she saw a divine warrior standing there. Lily was about to drive her car away, but the proud man of heaven followed her. Normal the proud one of heaven, I have a task, and I need someone to lure out a monster for me. After the task is completed, I will return the rabbit skin to you. Please consider it. This rabbit skin was originally hers, but now it became a reward for doing things for others. Lily took a deep breath, somewhat speechless, but thinking about her current level, it would take 2 or 3 minutes to hunt a rabbit. If you lose another level, you will definitely not be able to finish it in less than 4 or 5 minutes. It will take several minutes to refresh a rabbit. If you want to complete 10 more rabbit skins, you have to wait until before dinner in the evening. Therefore, although she secretly cursed the proud man of heaven for being treacherous, she still endured her depression and agreed after thinking about it. Normal variety fairy, yes. As soon as she agreed, the proud man sent a team message. Lily couldn't view his message just now, but now he has become a teammate. She clicked on it and saw that when everyone else was wearing white cloth, his equipment was all blue. No wonder he could take down the wild boar king who had just reached level 20. In Dragon Wars, equipment is divided into 6 levels, and their colors are white, green, blue, purple, orange, and gold. The color starts from white, which is the lowest equipment, and the higher it goes, the more powerful it becomes. In the plot, Enbei's family has a lot of money. But in the end, he still changed all his equipment to purple. Orange only made one weapon. In the end, he was killed and fell out. Apart from Gulikan and others who were wearing orange equipment, the only one who had a few pieces of golden equipment was the man named I Am God, who came from the same area in his previous life and had an extraordinary identity. Great God! After the two teamed up, Tianzizi actually summoned a one-color beast. When the area was first opened, mounts were a rare thing. Lily was still running on 2 legs at the moment. After a while, Tianzizi was gone, and she only saw a blue dot flashing on the map. After a while, he fell back again and impatiently issued a request to ride together. Lily knew that she ran slowly with her legs, so she was naturally happy to have someone take her. After clicking OK, she just the human female priest, who was still wearing a white cloth, was carried into the arms of the tall and cold-looking god warrior. The proud man stopped in front of a cave and stopped his horse, pointing towards the cave. Current the proud man of heaven, go in. Lily goes in and is resurrected. There is a giant bear hidden inside. Before she understood what was going on, she saw a brown hill-like bear rush out as the screen vibrated, followed by a system prompt. System, you were killed by the Grizzly King. It was only level 3 just now, but now it is only level 2. After working hard for a long time, it turned back to before liberation. After Lily was resurrected, she returned to the small village. She was so depressed that she wanted to scratch the wall, but her private chat started to go wrong. Private chat, the proud man of heaven says to you, where is he? Rabbit skin for you. Private chat, you say to the proud man, in the village. Private chat, you say to the proud man, brother, I lost another level when I died. I want 10 rabbit skins. Now you have to get 1 rabbit skin for me. Isn't this request too much? There was no response from there, and Lily resigned herself to killing sheep again to upgrade. After killing 3 lambs, the private chat started to flash again. Private chat, the proud man of heaven says to you, village chief. Lily didn't understand the meaning of these words at first, but when she realized what she was saying, her hands were only a little slower, and the sheep with the last bit of blood suddenly went berserk and directly pushed its horns on Lily. A big bright red word -50 appeared above the character's head, and the system prompt came again. System, you were killed by a sheep. He just reached level 3, and he died again this time. Lily was a little angry, so she turned around and ran towards the village chief. In this game, she met this person called Tianzizi who was not good at all. Although she was very patient, many people one after another had already reached level 15 and left the novice village. She stayed in the novice village for most of the day, and she was still wandering on the 2nd level. Private chat: the proud man of heaven says to you, you dropped a level, and I will compensate you. Lily became angry when she saw this. She didn't have to drop it in the first place. Her mission was almost completed. Who would have expected that when she saw the favored son of heaven, she would drop all the way and die endlessly? As time passed, she became impatient. She didn't say much to the favored man of heaven, and directly clicked the transaction. When she saw the 10 rabbit skins he had traded, she clicked to confirm and then said, "You think you are God?" After saying this, she remembered that he could not hear. Since I didn't have the game's audio enabled, I typed it. "I'll pay compensation, as long as I don't see him again, that's fine. I am God. I am the super god who came over after the merger. He is a divine warrior whose whole body equipment is mostly golden. He is also one of Mingzisu's admirers." At this moment, Lily thought of that cool and handsome guy. The character couldn't help but sneer at the proud man of heaven. But then again, there shouldn't be this Protoss warrior called Heaven's proud son in the plot. Not many people dare to play the role of Protoss warriors in the Dragon War world, because this profession is expensive. Lily then thought that he might just be there were no nameless people, so I didn't take it to heart. After all, there are 10 districts in Longzhang, and each district is said to have at least 100,000 people. It is not surprising that some people have never seen an Lily. She has learned enough this time and is no longer planning to level up by herself. Although Anbei hated her brother and Qinlin in the end, and Qinlin had been in the game for several days and must have a higher level than her. She found someone to guide her. Just take it to level 15 and leave the novice village and change jobs. Thinking of this, Lily felt a little happy. Before she could chat privately with Jian Shanmixue, the message from the proud man of heaven came over again. Private chat: the proud man of heaven says to you, there are some things that God cannot do, but I can. Private chat: the proud man of heaven says to you, so, you can think of me as God. Private chat: the proud man of heaven says to you, at 8 o'clock in the evening, wait here. After he finished speaking, he turned around and ran away on his unicorn, and the team immediately disbanded. Lily frowned and typed out the name Jian Shanmixue, but the system showed that it didn't exist. She entered Gu Liken's game name again, Changfeng leaving, but it also showed that there was no such person. Lily felt something was wrong, so she quickly exited her game character and found out that she was on the wrong server. She ran to the future. Went to the second area of the combined servers. Longzhang was opened in the 10 districts at the same time. She was not the kind of person to panic. Now it must be due to the influence of the original owner's instinct. She has become much more careless and clumsy. Lily wants to cry a little, thinking about the afternoon after wasting half a day. He gritted his teeth and recreated a human priest named Variety Fairy in the first area. This time he made sure that he was right. He also chatted privately with the name Jian Shanmixue. Over there, and Jian Ren came back with the news. Private chat: Jian Shanmixue said to you. Private chat: you said to Jian Shanmixue, and Qinlin, I am Anbei, come to pick me up. Private chat: Jian Shanmixue said to you. Private chat: Jian Shanmixue said to you, Zia, what a nonsense, why did you come into the game? Lily ignored him. He could play the game himself, so why couldn't others? After Jian Shanmixue saw that Lily didn't reply to her words, she originally wanted to call her, but thinking about her indulgent character, she finally called Gu Liken's mobile phone. Li Cheng, Lily is also here to play Dragon Fighting the World. She may be here for you. Please be patient. Gu Liken's cold voice came from the other end of the phone. She's not my sister anyway, Jianlin, just don't expect me to take care of her. But it's best if she doesn't bother me, otherwise don't blame me for being rude. After saying that, he hung up the phone. And Qinlin smiled bitterly and drove the car to Novice Village to help Lily with her mission. He has been in the game for several days, and the last few days have been a time when he has become more interested. Therefore, the account Jianshanmyxu has already reached level 30, and he has built a legion named Arrogant Cavalry. The game has only been launched for a few days. Jianshanmyxu is already considered a god-level figure in the game. With someone to take care of her, Lily only needs to form a team and ask Jianshanmyxu to help her fight monsters, then pick up things and trade them for herself before handing in tasks to NPCs. If there are some things that can be bought, Jianshanmyxu will buy them for her with money. Anyway, Qinlin is not short of money, so Lily's level rises faster. By 10 o'clock in the evening, she has risen to level 15, and can leave Novice Village and go to the next town to officially serve as a priest. And learn some new skills and wear new equipment. At this moment, Lily didn't know that in the Novice Village in District 1, a Protoss warrior wearing some purple equipment and already having blue wings on his back was waiting there. He stood directly from 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock, but when Lily was not seen coming, the favored man secretly chatted about the name Variety Fairy with a sullen face, but the system prompted. The Variety Fairy is not online. The favored man's face was livid, and the young man in front of the computer chuckled conspiratorially, "Not God, I want to be God." Lily had long forgotten about the proud man who asked her to play the game at 8 o'clock and said that he wanted to compensate her. The original owner had such a carefree temperament and would not pretend to take anything seriously. Even if his personality was a little willful, in this game except for the fact that Mingzisu offended her, which she remembered particularly well, even if other people had offended her, she would be angry for a while and then forget all about it the next day. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 271. At this time, she focused on the game. After level 15, Lily entered the town and came to the priest's hall. She learned the two skills of Holy Judgment and Single Target Healing. Holy Judgment is one of the 4 attack skills that the priest has. Is a large-scale group attack spell, but it may be because Lily's level is not high and her current equipment is not very good, so the damage value of her skill is not high. The healing technique is a single target treatment. Although the blood added does not seem to be much at present, the advantage is that the attack time is almost instantaneous, and the recovery time is short. You can keep adding, but the trouble is that you have to keep adding. The same blue that adds blood should also be drunk. In addition to the big red and big blue medicines that need to be exchanged for real money in the game mall, the red medicines sold at the grocers of real game NPCs all require a certain recovery time, but fortunately Lily is not short of money. She thought I had a painful experience playing a game for the first time. After reading some guides on the forum, I recharged my account with 10,000 yuan without hesitation. I also relied on the story to back me up. Once I learned the skills at level 15, he no longer needed Qinlin to take care of him, and he began to take on tasks and kill monsters to level up. Qinlin had long been impatient with her. Now that he saw that she didn't need to take care of him, he breathed a sigh of relief. He had just established an alliance with Gu Lycan, and there was still more to do now. He wasted time on leading Lily. In only half a day, he fell straight from 2nd to 5th in the game ranking list. Fortunately, the first place left in the wind, otherwise it would be a big loss for the gang in the future. There are definitely obstacles to development. Although the system stipulates that a gang can only be established at level 30, there are not so many restrictions on joining a gang. Once you reach level 15, you are eligible to join a gang. Qinlin originally wanted to ask Lily if she wanted to join the Proud Cavalry. But then she thought of her obsession with Gu Lycan. He was deeply afraid that after entering the game, she would also cause trouble to his good brother. After hesitating for a while, he pretended not to know what to do. He told Lily to complete the task upgrade by himself, then turned around and drove away. Lily ignored him and turned around to go to the small dungeon at level 15. In the plot, and Lily was thinking about how to chase men. She had plenty of money, so she didn't need to fight in the dungeon. Naturally, you can buy whatever equipment you want, so this is Lily's first time here, but fortunately, she has a good profession, a priest, which is required for dungeon fighting, so she easily got into the new team. After clearing level 15 dungeons about 10 times, she quickly reached level 17. Someone in the team got tired of playing, and naturally one after another the teams disbanded. At this moment, Lily was wearing a set of equipment that she had just collected from the dungeon, although the equipment was not as good as the one she made herself. However, after wearing a complete set, the attribute value will increase, which is still very powerful in the early stage. She went to the wild to farm monsters by herself, and the maid brought her lunch the next day. Before dinner, she reached level 25. In addition to learning another attack skill and a group added skill, she also learned the art of collecting herbs and making medicine, as well as sewing and blacksmithing. And Kinlan didn't come back for dinner. He always hung out with Gulikin and others. Lily didn't take it seriously. She hurried downstairs to finish the meal and then returned to her room and started shouting in the world. Got the materials. World the ever-changing fairy, collect large quantities of perilla, silk, and various minerals, and trade some of them with me. There is no price limit. Most of the people playing the game at this time are still newbies. It takes 2 UN to buy a speaker in the mall to shout a world. Lily shouted 5 messages in a row, and her private chat started to flash one after another. Because the game has just launched, there are still relatively few merchants. She exchanges it with real money in the game, which is definitely more expensive than buying it from the players, but the advantage is convenience. Lily was not short of money. She recharged 50,000 UN to enter the game and planned to practice the 3 life skills of making weapons and equipment and making jewelry to the top. And Kinlan did not want her to join the game for the sake of her brothers, thinking that she would pester her. If Gulikin would annoy his brother, then she would ask Kinlan to humbly ask her to join the club in the end. After spending 50,000 UN to collect a lot of materials, Lily spent 5.5 months without practicing any level. When she had perfected all her life skills, an announcement suddenly flashed in the game. System: the ever-changing fairy has amazing perseverance and has mastered sewing to the level of a great master. System: the ever-changing fairy has amazing perseverance and will be trained to the level of a grand master. System: the ever-changing fairy has amazing perseverance and has mastered casting to the level of a grand master. System: the variety fairy becomes the first grand master in the game to reach the great perfection state in 3 life skills, and will be rewarded with 1 million experience points, 500,000 money, and 100,000 reputation. System: the ever-changing fairy obtains the unique title Hand of God, which title cannot be obtained again. I wish all players a happy game. These announcements caused a lot of shock in the game, and many people couldn't help but start launching the world. World: long hair reaching waist level and squatting to tease. World: a piece of rice left on the teeth, this is the rhythm of becoming a god. World: my pants are off, fairy girl, please support me, please help me make equipment. World: I am the imperial concubine, same as above, please help me make equipment. World: vampire knight, making equipment. This world news was sent by a loudspeaker for 2 UN, so Lily couldn't block it, but she ignored it. At this time, because the system gave away 1 million experience points, she started from level 25. She was directly promoted to level 34. There were a lot of equipment in her bag that were made to increase her proficiency. She sold some of the blue and white equipment into the store, and put some of the remaining purple equipment in her bag. Those that were not enough were also sold into the system. Because there were too many purple equipment, Lily simply opened a small account and transferred the items. A piece of equipment was sold at a clearance sale for 10,000 UN. In less than 3 minutes, it was sold out. Only then did Lily turn her attention to her irreplaceable title called Hand of God. What made her happy was that her time in the past 6 months had not been in vain, because once the title Hand of God was equipped, the success rate of producing top-quality equipment has increased by 15%. Don't look at it. 15 is not too much, but if it is made with 100 materials, it means that she can make 15 pieces of clothes with super attributes. Although the equipment in Dragon War World can be smashed into orange with real money in the later stage, if the equipment is good, the effect of spending money on the equipment will naturally be better than that of ordinary equipment, so just get one for ordinary high-quality clothes with the attribute value of adding 200 blood. A white cloth can add 2000 blood after being smashed into purple. However, if it is a white cloth with an original attribute value of 2000, it may be added to blood after being smashed into orange. That's 20,000, that's the difference. Lily is now at level 43. She opened the Dragon Battle rankings. The number 1 Changfeng departure is already level 65, which is 2 levels higher than the second place Jianshan Mixuo. The third place behind her is the second young son of the Gu family. Unfortunately, it is Gu Liwan who was seduced by Anbeihe in the plot. He also has another identity, that is, Mingzisu's childhood sweetheart's boyfriend. Private chat Jianshan Mixuo said to you, Ziahe, have you fully upgraded all 3 life skills? This was nearly half a year after Lily had been playing games. And Qinlin came to see her again. He had rarely chatted with her privately before, but now he actually came to her door. Lily curled her lips and typed. Private chat, you said to Jianshan Mixuo, yes. Private chat Jianshan Mixuo said to you, great, Ziahe, hurry up and join the guild. Now we only lack such an equipment master in the guild. This is great, haha, you don't have to worry about equipment. Seeing this, Lily couldn't help but sneered. When she thought she would pester Gu Liken, she pretended not to let her join the club. Now she has spent nearly half a year working hard every day without practicing. Practicing familiarity, and Qinlin actually wanted to pick it up off the shelf. He dared to think of himself as a machine making equipment. Private chat, you said to Jianshan Mixuo, who said I wanted to join your club. I won't go, I will play by myself. Before Qinlin could send a message, Lily closed the private chat. Not long after, the private message in her game sounded. After seeing the name on it, Lily hung up without hesitation. In Dragon Wars, voice can be used between teams, gangs, and individuals. In addition to the fact that you may hear when the people next to you speak, people in gangs and teams will also definitely hear the words spoken by people in the gang and the team. But if it was a private chat, the other party had to be connected before he could talk. Lily ignored Qinlin, and he called him not long after. Before Lily could hold the phone to his ear, he said loudly and anxiously. Ziahe, what are you doing? If you don't want to join the Big Brother club, which club do you want to join? I can join whatever club I want. Who said that I have to join your club? Fortunately, the original Anbeihe was an arrogant and willful person, so Lily rejected Qinlin, and he didn't even feel it. Unexpectedly, he just softened his tone. Ziahe, there are benefits for you to join the meeting. If you want anything, the people in the meeting will give it to you. Then you help others for nothing, and I don't get any benefits. Lily sneered, interrupted Qinlin, and pretended to be impatient. Since when has the eldest lady of the An family ever done hard work for others? See if they are worthy. Qinlin originally wanted to say that you are not short of money, but thinking of the sister's always unruly and willful character, he was afraid that she would turn against him as soon as he said this, so he hesitated and hung up the phone in a hurry. Called again about 5 minutes later, don't you want to see Li Cheng in the meeting? If you come over, I will ask Li Cheng to spend an hour with you every day. To be continued.